Superman finds himself in a mysterious white void. The last thing he remembers is taking Brainiac through a black hole during the events of Superman Doomed. A disembodied voice explains that Brainiac led Superman here, and a massive version of the villain appears before Clark, saying the hero always demands the villain's attention. The giant Brainiac claims that all versions of this villain serve him, and leads Superman to this place as part of a grand experiment on a scale far too large for Clark to even comprehend. The hero suddenly finds himself imprisoned by a machine, while Brainiac explains that this is where he watches Clark die. Again and again, under a different circumstance and story, Clark dies over and over. Brainiac isn't responsible for these deaths, but he watches them to learn, and to find a version of Superman that would submit to the villain's own purposes. Clark tries to escape, but to no avail. This version of Brainiac reveals his full form, a massive creature that dwarfs Superman, and the villain claims to have what he wanted out of this Superman. He knows about the worlds and cities of Clark's home in the mainstream New 52 universe, and seems to have been satisfied by this encounter. Brainiac vanishes, while Superman is left imprisoned and alone. In a rage, Clark manages to destroy his restraints and vows to return home. He escapes prison and finds himself on an empty and desolate planet. Using his superior vision, he can tell that nothing is around for millions of miles, and that there aren't even stars in the sky. He sees a figure in the wasteland and chases after it, but this person eludes him. Superman is then abruptly approached by another version of Brainiac. When Clark demands to speak to the version that he encountered earlier, this iteration claims that the true Brainiac has left. Superman knows that Brainiac is heading to his home of Metropolis, but this version claims to have many different metropolises and other cities of Earth. Changing form, this other version of Brainiac is confident that he can find Superman a suitable home among his collection. But this isn't good enough for the hero. As this version of Brainiac shuffles among the many different forms the villain has taken over the years, he explains that they exist outside of the flow of time. He states that he is not Brainiac, but rather a sentient expression of the planet they are currently on. This planet was placed here and altered by the original Brainiac to serve as a home for cities that were nearly destroyed in their original timeline. Here, the planet would look over the cities and judge them for their merit. The sentient being claims to have many cities and refuses to grant them freedom until they prove themselves worthy. This sends Superman into a rage, but he is unable to wage battle against the entire planet. The entity claims that its master, the true Brainiac, left for the New 52 Earth some time ago and has not returned. Clark doesn't belong here, so the planet dismissively expels him. As Superman leaves, the entity decides that his master made a mistake. The time for judgment is here, and this being will have to determine which cities are worthy enough to return to the universe, and which shall be destroyed. Let only the strong survive. Our story begins in Gotham City, with a Superman confronting his old comrades in the Justice League. But Batman says there is no point in his return, as something has reduced Gotham to ruins and is coming for the heroes next. They hear an unknown voice, warning the heroes that they have proven themselves unworthy. They cannot find the source of their tormentor, when suddenly the ground erupts around the League. Most of the heroes perish in the attack, but Superman manages to race off to safety. Clark wonders if he should help the people of Gotham, but decides against it, wanting the citizens to suffer like he has. As he looks over the ruins, a massive fist appears out of the earth and swallows Kent whole. The voice remarks that this city is yet another failed experiment, and he must begin once again. Elsewhere, Thomas Wayne appears in an unknown place. One by one, other heroes from Earth 2 begin to appear with him. They are confused, as the last thing anyone remembers was their final stand against the forces of Apocalypse. In his grief over losing his wife Barbara Gordon, Dick Grayson attacks Wayne, and the heroes begin to fight amongst themselves. They should all be dead, and it seems that Earth 2 has been destroyed. Before they can get their bearings, metal erupts from the ground and begins to attack the team. The metal appears to be forming a dome of sorts around them, which this version of Superman manages to slow down with his freezing breath. A voice then calls out to them, and the planet, a sentient being, appears before them in his avatar, a being created by merging ideas of various forms of Brainiac into one. This Brainiac demands to know why the intruders are here without a city, and Alan Scott explains that their home was destroyed. Brainiac says this is unacceptable. It is strange they arrived here without a host city, and the being wonders if he miscalculated something. He explains that he brings cities here at their last possible moment of existence. An error must have occurred, and he brought Earth 2 heroes here too late and without a city of their own. The being interprets this error as a signal that no more cities are coming. This was the final collection from the last world that the original Brainiac will ever try to take a city from. It is time for this Brainiac to determine what cities will survive and who will perish. One world shall fight another until only one remains. Brainiac then simultaneously contacts all the cities within his vast collection. These worlds came to the villain at many different times, during an infinite crisis, the final moments of Zero Hour, a flashpoint in time, and even from kingdoms that will never come. Today the competition for survival begins. The Convergence is here.
Earth 2, hours before its destruction, the world is dying and everybody is making their way to the escape ships to leave their dying world. Dick Grayson and his son frantically race to the front of the line to get passage through. Unfortunately, they are denied. Going back to the end of the line is a death sentence and the soldier knows it. But without his wife Barbara Gordon present, they cannot enter. You see, Barbara Gordon is in law enforcement and she gets safe passage for her and her family through. But Barbara won't make it. She died protecting her world. The crowd behind gets anxious and begins to shove and push. The soldier yells a command. Stay back! Stay back or we will shoot! Grayson's hope is fading and all he can do is pray for a quick death for him and his son. But fortunately, a woman holding a premium access has given Tommy Grayson a chance for survival. The father hands over the son to a woman he had never met before. Tommy Grayson will live. A sigh of relief washes over the father, even though he is covered with chaos and panic. The ship begins to launch, but the unthinkable happens. They never made it out of orbit. The skies open up as Apocalypse swallows the earth and begins to feed. Darkseid's parademon army poured out until their bodies blocked out the sun. Batman and the Flash were making their last stand against Calabac, trying to buy the refugee ships sometime while Superman and GL went toe-to-toe with Darkseid himself. Grayson ran. A man without a purpose ran. Towards danger, towards doom, towards the epicenter of chaos. But then the skies opened up once more. But this time, it wasn't Darkseid or Apocalypse. Tendrils of energy reached out, coated his body with metal liquid, and spirited him away. The last thing he remembered was Tommy. This isn't the end. Dick will find his son, and he will bring him back home. Present day. On the world of Telos, Earth 2 heroes are forced to make a choice. Which world will they choose to combat with? Telos opens up 2 domes for a test of might. After the worlds have destroyed each other, he states, "That worked well. What an excellent download." But while the world incarnate was distracted, the bonds that binds the group weakens. Val Zod's Superman manages to break free and gives Telos a much needed sucker punch. Meanwhile, GL Alan Scott attempts to connect to the powers of this world. Alan Scott achieved his goals even though he seemed a bit possessed. With his newfound powers, he summons up every last bit of his might to blast Telos to ashes. The group found time to recover as they help Alan Scott back to his feet. But the relentless Telos returns and states, Didn't I tell you that I was one with this planet? Scott is too weak to be of any help, so Val-Zod's Superman takes up his place and flies in, giving Telos a run for his money. Superman's anger poured out of him as he were a madman. Telos did not stand a chance, but then the world incarnate does something unexpected. He surrenders and disappears back into the ground from which he came. The group now has time to collect themselves. We discover that after Alan Scott made a connection to this world, he now is partially connected to Telos, which means Alan Scott knows a part of the villain's plan and potentially how to stop him. The key to defeating Telos isn't on the surface of the planet, it is beneath it. Now, the journey is to seek answers in a nearby ruined city. Batman gives everyone their tasks. The Dark Knight from Earth 2 and Grayson will seek out the help from friends in a nearby Gotham City. Hours later, Batman and Grayson through the sewers enters a Batcave from a Gotham City that is not their own. Batman again commands Grayson to gain intel from the computers. He commands Grayson as if Dick was his sidekick. And thus, the boy wonder from Earth 2 approaches the computers. Oracle, aka Barbara Gordon, appears on screen and demands for the shadowed figure to enter the light and announce himself. Grayson froze in his tracks. What do you say to your dead wife? Seconds felt like minutes. Minutes felt like hours. But this is not his wife. This is a doppelganger from another world. But will she know who he is, even if he enters the light? The moment broke as Alfred approaches and informs Oracle that everything is fine. After catching up on what has transpired in the last couple of days, Dick informs the butler that Thomas Wayne is out seeking this world's Batman. Alfred knows all too well how this meeting of Batman will play out. It is best that they stay out of this meeting between Dark Knights. You see, Alfred knew what Dick could never guess. That what Thomas Wayne would discover at the top of the stairs was a young man whose father's death propelled him into his present role. That what Bruce Wayne would discover was a deeply disturbed man at the end of his life, whose son's death propelled him to who he is. A wounded father and a wounded son. Alone, face to face, and with the air so thick, with the pain and the loss and things too long unsaid, father and son both felt a little peace. The meeting of father and son finally ends as they join their comrades in the Batcave. Grayson is given Batman-approved body armor, and Thomas Wayne is given the keys to the Batmobile. But before Thomas departs, he tells Bruce that if his father is anything like he is, Thomas Wayne from this Earth would be very proud of his son. Meanwhile, Jay Garrick, the Flash of Earth 2, scouts ahead and witnesses a battle amongst super-powered beings wearing insignias that he knows all too well. He regroups with his team and saves a man running from the Brainiac androids. After the man is helped to his feet, he tells the group that his name is Deimos and that the arrival of the Earth 2 heroes was foretold. He further states that he can lead them off this planet.
The heroes of Earth 2 stand with Deimos, who warns them of a demon who holds this world captive. They are well aware of this foe, and know of the threat that Telos poses to everyone on this planet. Their conversation is interrupted when they are attacked by more drones. A battle ensues, and Val-Zod's Superman is nearly captured. Telos is pleased, and goes to deal with the only city that is refusing to fight, Kandor. In this place, the Kryptonians have gathered, and sworn they will be no man's puppet. But Telos appears before them and insists they must fight. Meanwhile, Jay Garrick rescues Superman, and Batman arrives in a borrowed Batmobile to help fight off the remaining drones. Sadly, the vehicle is damaged during the fight and no longer working, and Batman was unable to get any reinforcements. Every city here is making an attack or under siege. In Kandor, Telos murders one of their heroes, causing the entire crowd to attack. The great being calls them mad, saying they had such promise as a race of supermen. They could have easily won the Convergence, but now, Telos chooses to destroy this city. As he stands among the dead and the ruins of what was once Kandor, the being declares that this shall be a lesson to anyone foolish enough to challenge him. Meanwhile, the Earth 2 heroes are in trouble. Val-Zod's formidable power is rapidly draining without a yellow sun around to fuel him. Deimos says that he found the knowledge and power to stop Telos, something the being fears that exists deep down within the center of this planet. The sorcerer asks the Earth 2 heroes to follow him, so that he may show them the answers they seek. Lacking any other options, they consent, but Batman insists that he is staying here. He's out of Miracolo, a pill this version of Batman uses to function as a superhero, and he was followed by an unknown faction out of Gotham City. Even though he doesn't know Batman very well, Dick Grayson insists on staying with Thomas Wayne, and the two men prepare to buy their friends some time. Underground, Deimos leads the rest of the Earth 2 heroes to a city called Skartaris. He was driven from this place by a despot who wanted to claim the land as his own, seeking the great power that lies within here. Alarms go off within the castle of Skartaris, and a woman named Shakira imprisons the Masters of Time, knowing that Deimos will have need for them. Above ground, the people following Batman arrive, and they are revealed to be a host of Batman's villains from the city he just visited. They don't know this Batman, but will happily kill him just the same. Man-Bat grabs Dick Grayson, and Batman is forced to fight off the rest of the villains alone. Thomas proves more than a match for his enemies, until he is stabbed by Zsasz in the abdomen. The villains manage to get Batman in a hole, and they ask Dr. Hurt what he wants to do with their new captive. Hurt declares that first they will kill this Batman, then the other one, and then his boy. But Thomas will never let another Wayne be harmed again. He detonates a massive explosion, killing himself and most of the villains. Dick is freed from the Man-Bat as a result of this explosion and crashes into the ground. He looks over Batman's remains, reflecting that Thomas was a good father and did everything he could to protect his family. Grayson vows to do the same, and he will do anything to get his son back. Suddenly, Grayson is shot by the Joker. This isn't Batman, but there's something about Dick that the Clown Prince of Crime likes. The Joker mocks him and says that Batman's sacrifice will mean nothing once he shoots Grayson dead. But Telos appears behind him and snaps the villain's neck. The being comments that the Joker is a vile creature, a plague in every timeline. Grayson assumes that Telos is here to kill him too, but actually, the being only has one question. Where are his friends?
In every reality and every forgotten timeline Telos has witnessed, Dick Grayson wears a mask. But this Dick Grayson is different. He is one of the only survivors of Earth 2, and he believes his son is a survivor as well. Grayson fights to survive, to find his son. That is what Convergence is, the fight for survival, for being worthy of Telos. You see, Telos is making a new world, but he needs to choose his inhabitants. The strongest society will be chosen worthy of taking this planet. The others will be discarded. Brainiac commands it. Dick Grayson reawakens to find Telos standing in the aftermath, and his comrade Thomas Wayne has perished. An excruciating pain tells Grayson that his body is broken. Telos informs Grayson that the planet incarnate isn't here to kill the man from Earth 2. Instead, Telos wants Dick to fight. Fight to survive, to be worthy of his new world. Telos isn't the enemy here. He could be a benevolent god, but only if Grayson wins. Telos coats the man's body in a liquid metal, which helps stabilize Grayson's broken body and allows him to move freely as if he is uninjured. Telos brings Grayson along for a ride of education where the Earth 2 man witnesses the open domed cities warring with each other. During this time, Grayson attempts to reason with the planet incarnate, but to no avail. Brainiac's teachings is strong within this one, and he believes that only the strong will survive. He will not disobey his creator. The center of the world, Skartaris. The Earth 2 heroes, along with Deimos, prepares to attack the castle. They converge, but during the mayhem, our heroes notices that Deimos has gone missing. Their concerns that this mysterious man has played them for fools has become a strong possibility. Now, Yolanda Montez is on a mission to hunt down this man that they rescued only hours ago. Elsewhere, a warlord and his woman are engaged in combat with the lizard men, but something is wrong. They sense that their kingdom of Skartaris isn't on their world anymore. It has been moved. The warriors put an end to their battle and begins to race back to their castle. Meanwhile, Deimos is on his way towards the chambers that holds the time travelers captive, but Yolanda is on hot pursuit. She manages to catch up to him, but Deimos has powers that even Yolanda cannot comprehend. She gets subdued quickly, and Deimos returns to his mission at hand. He enters the chamber, and the jailer Shakira stands ready for a fight. But she falls the same way Yolanda did. Deimos has done it. He is alone with the time travelers, and he demands to take their powers for his own. After mere seconds of draining the time travelers' power, he now sees everything as it truly is. The arrival of the Earth 2 heroes reveals the truth to Deimos. He now sees that these survivors are the original heroes reborn. They are the first, and now they will be the last. The room gets a bit more crowded as Telos and Grayson crashes through the ceiling to bear witness to this encounter. The newly empowered Deimos is now ready. He states, "My powers of the Time Master summons you, Brainiac. I can free you from your prison." A voice echoes through the room. "Deimos, what do you want? Free me and you shall have it."
Deimos stands before the Earth 2 heroes with Brainiac imprisoned behind him. Telos demands that his master be free, but it only serves to amuse the captor. Deimos says that the being's true name is not Telos, and the sorcerer unlocks the memory of the sentient planet. We learn that Telos was actually once a man. He had a wife and child, until the night that Brainiac came. The villain made an offer. Telos could give himself over to Brainiac in eternal service, and his family would be spared. He agreed to the deal, and Telos was taken and transformed into the being he is today. Dick Grayson realizes that Telos is just like the Earth 2 heroes, the last survivor of his world. The man feels a moment of hope, and he realizes his captor could be a potential ally, or even their savior. A battle begins as everyone turns on Deimos. Citizens of Skartaris and Earth 2 heroes unite and attack the villain. But the heroes of Skartaris are no match for Deimos, who proceeds to eliminate most of his enemies. Valzad Superman shows that he is not so easily stopped, and manages to resist his opponent's magic long enough to do battle with the sorcerer. But Deimos is able to overpower Superman and banishes Brainiac from his prison. Telos is rocked at the news of his past life, but states that he is only a servant to Brainiac now, and disappears. The building collapses around the heroes, and the Earth 2 characters manage to escape. Yolanda is accidentally left behind and rescued by Deimos. Dick Grayson escapes with the others. He finds a batarang. Though he doesn't know where the gadget came from, he reflects that Telos may have been right. Perhaps there has always been a tie between Dick Grayson and Batman. And perhaps it's time for this tie to get stronger. Deimos takes Yolanda to a chamber where Brainiac once controlled this world from. The sorcerer remembers the timeline as it existed before Flashpoint, and Deimos knows that Yolanda was there during the Crisis of Infinite Earths in the form of the hero known as Wildcat. The woman says that whatever the villain has planning, her friends will gather the cities together and stop him. But Deimos says that he's going to get the allies first. He calls out to the cities across the planet and declares that Telos is no longer in charge. Deimos has saved their lives, and now he will protect them for a price.
Deep space, a convergence of iconic heroes and villains gather to witness something that shatters the laws of physics. A half-planet that exists outside of this reality is breaching into the universe. This incident is attracting many different groups such as Guy Gardner and his Red Lanterns, Superman and Supergirl. Even the being known as the Monitor is paying attention. Darkseid is ready for war, and the entity known as the Oracle will observe the outcome of this breach in time and space. Meanwhile, the planet of Telos, Deimos is surprised at how many incarnations there are of the Justice League. He plans on killing them all, and in their deaths, a new universe will be born. His universe. Elsewhere, Garrick and Dick Grayson races through the cities and finds the Titans losing their battle. But who are the good guys and who are the bad ones? The Earth 2 heroes trust their guts and aids the Titans, but more help is on their way. Superman, Batgirl, Arsenal, and the Flash from pre-Flashpoint arrives to aid their comrades. The villains are outnumbered and thus they retreat. The heroes find time to collect themselves. They discover that Telos is not the big bad dog in the yard, but rather, Deimos is the new threat. The game has changed. It isn't city versus city no longer. It is whoever that will side with Deimos versus the ones that won't. Superman orders his new team to disperse and find the aid of whoever that does not see eye to eye with Deimos to enlist their help. But after everyone is gone, Dick Grayson is left with a true Man of Steel. He tells Grayson that he has been listening to everything on this planet, and Grayson may be the most vital piece on this planet-sized game of chess. Superman has been listening into Grayson's entire conversation with Telos, and the man from Earth 2 may be the only one who can turn Telos against his programming and help them achieve victory. Hours later, alone, Grayson calls out to the planet Incarnate. Telos answers and allows Grayson to plead his case. The two strikes an unlikely deal. Telos will help Grayson and the other heroes defeat Deimos and return home, and Grayson will help the planet Incarnate find his lost family. Meanwhile, the heroes have regrouped with additional members and have tracked down Deimos. Superman orders him to surrender. He is drastically outnumbered, but Deimos stands confidently still. With confidence, Deimos announces his new followers, and a wave of villains from across the multiverse have chosen to side themselves against the heroes. Deimos declares war by shouting out an order. Kill them all and this world is yours!
Every clock on Earth just stopped. Temporal and antimatter energy radiates from the strange new planet entering New 52 space. Superman orders everybody to pull back, but the being known as the Oracle refuses. The entity sees all of the past, present, and future. So why is he now blind? Clark asks the cosmic being what is going on and how they can save everyone, but the Oracle only says that nobody can be saved. On the world of Telos, war rages between heroes of many different continuities. The battle is chaotic until Telos suddenly erupts from the ground. Deimos sees this, and the two engage in fierce fight over control over this planet. The power between these two forces is so great it can be observed from space, and most of the heroes cannot get close enough to the fight. A version of Hal Jordan tries to stop Deimos, but he is easily pushed back. In the end, Telos is able to overpower the sorcerer and imprison all the villains who sided with him. Deimos is captured, and Telos demands to know his own true name. But the sorcerer is still powerful enough to attempt an escape. In response, Hal Jordan declares that Deimos is boring him, and the Green Lantern murders the villain. Telos is upset at this development, and explains that the sorcerer had absorbed the powers of a group of time travelers. He had absolute control of past, present, and future. But now, the sky becomes saturated in a red lightning that erupts from the planet. The Oracle finally sees it now. The future is unknown. The entity can finally rest. He begins to break apart into pieces and declares that all of reality is about to collapse.
Parallax stands strong and confident on his decision to obliterate Deimos, but his actions have consequences. With Deimos' death, the powers of the Timekeepers have bled into the New 52 universe. The temporal energy found its way into the core of the planet, and now, this world is transforming into a ticking time bomb that will obliterate the multiverse. Garrick feels the vibrational frequencies change. Telos emerges and subdues the overly arrogant Parallax. The world incarnate confirms what the heroes fear. The countdown has begun. Booster Gold and his sister Goldstar, along with the time traveler Wave Rider, enters the scene. You see, Wave Rider isn't like any other time traveler. He has merged with a time stream, and he has the ability to see many futures, but right now, there is no future, only the ending void of absolute destruction. There is only one hope left, and Ryder makes a bold move to call upon and release the villainous Brainiac from his cage. The heroes are shocked but quick to react. They attack Brainiac with everything they got. Force Superman preemptively blasts his villain, but he is unfazed. Brainiac arrogantly threatens to destroy all of them, but he is now in the same boat that our heroes are in. We discover that Brainiac is not who he was. He now feels pain and he feels lost. He was once designated Brainiac from the planet Kolu, and he traveled across the universe seeking to collect knowledge. But when he observed the Flashpoint and survived, he sought for something more, to become something more. So he set out upon this new universe. His travels took him beyond the source wall. He saw other Brainiacs. He saw himself, and those reading him, even those staring back at him. He re-emerged with his new body before us. And now, this tyrannical maniac pleads for help. Hundreds of miles above the planet, Superman and Supergirl has sent everyone home to their families. The Red Lanterns have returned home because even they have families who they love. Supergirl wonders if this is the end, in which case her cousin says that they need hope. Hope that whoever is fighting the good fight down there wins. Meanwhile, back on the planet of Telos, Brainiac has taken the powers from Telos and begun to channel the temporal energy of the planet to return our heroes back to their proper universe. But something is wrong. The first crisis is too strong and could cause the realities to collapse into one. But luckily, there is one thing that can be done. He must send Supergirl and the Flash back to their reality first. But what waits for them is death. Our heroes know too well about the ultimate sacrifice, and they will face it on their feet, proud and strong. But before they go at it alone, Parallax wants a shot at redemption and joins the pair in the fight for their lives. Superman is not the type to let his friends go at it alone, and thus the Man of Steel, along with his boy and wife, joins our heroes in the saving the multiverse. In an instant, Brainiac can tell they have done it. Reality is resetting, stabilizing. Each world has evolved, but they still exist, and now he can rest. Already he is being pulled back to his reality, but before he goes, this world must be cleansed. No trace of chrono energy must remain. Telos is powerless to save his Earth 2 friends as the world begins to fall into chaos. Once the dust and destruction clears, our Earth 2 heroes emerge from the rubble, saved courtesy of Alan Scott the Green Lantern. He explains that Brainiac is gone and the planet is freed. With the world freed from influence, Alan Scott is able to sprout plant life where once was barren wasteland. A lush forest grows around them in mere seconds. Garrick is the first to realize that this world has moved into somewhere familiar. Telos appears and confirms his belief. This lush green world has been sent back to their universe proper. Green Lantern calls upon his powers to send a cosmic flare to locate and transmit a message to everyone on the escaped ships who survived the destruction of their world. Upon the escaped ships, a flash of green light brings a warm voice. This is Green Lantern. Follow the light. We have found a new world to rebuild. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Comic Island. My name is Joey, and thank you so much for checking out our Convergence complete story. There's been quite a lot of mixed feelings about this whole event. Unfortunately, I wasn't a fan of it. But the good thing is that now we can look forward to a DC multiverse with other universe still intact. I'm looking forward to seeing my favorite characters from pre-Flashpoint again, but until then, Comic Island will be excited to bring you the next big DC crossover event. Thank you so much for watching our Convergence complete story. You can connect with us on our Facebook and Twitter page, where you can also find more complete stories on our website. All of the links will be in the description below. Thanks again, and if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time in another complete story video.